So hi there, my name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Danielle LaPorte on her book The Desire Map, A Guide to Creating Goals with Soul. Now this book's really a holistic life planning tool that will revolutionize the way you go after what you want in life. Now Danielle skipped college, raised money, wrote books, learned to speak multimedia, and generally learned everything she knew through bursts of obsession. She is the author of the best-selling The Fire Starting Sessions, and the latest is The Desire Map. So Danielle, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, a pleasure. Now, my very first question to you is, it's a great book. I've got it in my hand here. It's a beautiful big one as well, The Desire Map. Where did you get the idea for this book from? How did it come about?
Yeah, naturally, easily, and surprisingly, I was doing some goal setting on New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
and I had my basic goals lined out. I want to get to Hawaii. I want to lose the baby weight. I want to pay off the credit cards, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And boring, yawn, uninspired, totally drab.
Yeah.
And then I thought, what other words, other concepts, other feelings, and those goals turned into earth and sensuality and prosperity and abundance. And then I left it. That was like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't think much about it. And then the next New Year's Eve, I thought, well, what if I focused on how I want to feel this year?
Yeah.
And that was what really changed everything. And then I said, well, what do I need to do this year to feel that way? And that changed what I went after. And eventually I started realizing it was changing, with feelings at the center of it, it was changing how I went after everything. Way less stressful, much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Hard to get to.
Yeah. Well, can just give the listeners an idea of, if somebody's focusing on the feelings, what kind of feelings are you talking about?
Well, they're what I call your core desired feelings, and I make the distinction between, people say to me, well, what's the difference between emotions and feelings, and do my core desired feelings change? And I say, no, they're not that changeable. I think there are key or core feelings that most of us have been longing to experience our whole lives. I think they're there since we were children. Like one of my core desired feelings is union. I wanted to feel connected to a God, to people since I was little. That's been really apparent. So, the desire map process is about identifying a handful. I advise like 4 or 5 core desired feelings to focus on. And I think those are driving everything you do. And they're not fleeting and changeable. It's not the same as emotions. You can feel 900 different emotions a day.
Yeah.
They're going to come and go. They're going to raise your heart rate, all those things. These are deep, much more rooted, steady desires.
Would they be connected to what people, this idea of values? Is it connected to that? Like, for example, when I did exercises, I found my values were creativity, spirituality, freedom. Would my core feelings be concerned with those values?
Yeah, I have a super professional answer for you.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Fine.
Like I would say, there's so much terminology, right? People can argue that there's values and there's mission and there's vision, and we're all sort of saying the same thing at the end of the day. But I would ask you, if you are, give me your values again: spirituality, what and what?
Freedom, creativity.
Yeah, okay. So I would push you and say, how do those make you feel? And your answers might be the same. You might say, well, spirituality as a concept, as a state, makes me feel more connected. It makes me feel union. It makes me feel light, whatever. And we might say, hey, well, then maybe one of your core desired feelings is about being connected. Okay, so then let's talk about freedom. How does freedom, it sounds inside out, but like, how does freedom make you feel? And you might say, connected, lit up, brave, courageous. Or I just feel freer. Maybe one of your core desired feelings is freedom.
Yeah.
And then where this really becomes like awesomely useful is then I would say, well, okay, Steve, what are you going to do today to feel free? Like, write it down. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to make the phone call. I'm going to chant that chant. I'm going to work on my book, whatever it is. It's all about feeling that way every day in the most practical ways.
That's a very good answer. That's very down to earth. I can follow it and do something with that. And I think I'll actually, after this interview, sit down and think about my, or not think. That's a very British answer, isn't it? Think about my feelings. I will feel my feelings. And
I will analyze my emotions for the sake of the output. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Very left brain. Great. Well, now you're interested in desire. You know, this whole thing about wanting, and I've got a quote from you. Desire. I'm curious about our relationship to wanting and how we create lives that we love living. You know, and I've been around this spiritual field for a while, and there is this kind of argument from some places, mainly Buddhist, I think, around desire leading to suffering.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What do you say about that?
I think they're half right.
Yeah.
But I don't think that paradigm is the whole story. So, yeah, unhealthy desires, what the Buddhists call your hungry ghost, that need in you, that deep dark hole that's like can never be filled. It's always begging.
Yeah.
Those lead to suffering.
Yeah.
I think there are there's desires that are rooted in your essence, in your true self, your original self, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And then there are these more kind of psychological, maybe ego-based, although I'm a big fan of the ego, ego-based desires, and they just create more need, more neediness, more darkness.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think, you know, having spoken to you very briefly, you know, a lot of these so-called ego desires are, you know, if I have that car, that house, then I will be happy, or isn't it something like that? And very rarely does it lead to, you know, constant happiness. It's very short-lived, isn't it?
Okay, well, here's the thing. I mean, this is my whole thing. I believe that everything you're going after, so all those external things you just mentioned, the house, the car, etc. I think you're being driven by a desire to feel a certain way. So you're not actually chasing the goal. You're chasing the feeling, you know, the state you want to experience when you think you're going to when you get to where you want to go. Okay, so if that's true, and I'm like taking a stand that is true, then there's so much power in getting clear on how you actually want to feel. Forget about what you're chasing for a second. Get clear. Is this about wanting to feel energized? Is this about wanting to feel powerful? Is this about courage, whatever it is for you, you know?
Yeah.
And then once you have that kind of clarity, then you measure all that stuff against your clarity. So you can say, listen, I want to feel, let's go with you. One of my core desired feelings is freedom. Okay, Steve, what would make you feel free? Maybe the answer to that is a BMW. Then you should go get that. You should do whatever you need to do to go get that fast car. Because it feels great. It feels like freedom.
Yeah.
But maybe that's, you know, the Beamer has been on your list for a long time, and it's got nothing to do with freedom. It's got everything to do with filling the hole, looking good, pleasing your father, lack of self-worth, all of that. But I don't have any, you know, in fact, like one of my main tenets is like zero judgment about what you're going to go after once you get clear on your core desired feelings.
So yeah, Danielle, so it made me realize that, you know, something like love or freedom or happiness, usually we go after it tunnel vision. If I have the BMW, I'll feel this way. But love or freedom could come in a dozen or 100 ways. So isn't that more freeing, that you can actually get what you want, you know, get that feeling in many more ways? It's more fluid than fixed.
Yeah, fluid is the word. Yes, I think when you're rooted, when you're devoted, when you're focused on the core desired feeling, then when life brings you something that doesn't match the vision you've had, but it's whether it's, you know, the love of your life may show up in completely different packaging, but they're going to make, you know, you feel the way you want to feel, and then you can be a yes. But, you know, another great word that you used is tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, that sums up the downside of fierce, rabid, overzealous goal setting that I think has got us so screwed up and burned out. Our adrenals are fried. We're missing cues. When you get in that mindset of, I'm going to get this no matter what,
Mm.
And let me just pause and say, of course, you need to bring that energy to some things. I mean, will is a beautiful thing. But we live too much, I think, culturally, Westernly, we live too much in that no matter what it takes place. And when you're in that state and you got the goal and it's all about hitting that, you numb out your senses. You
Mm.
stop paying friends. The universe gives you all sorts of signs, and sometimes it comes with your friends saying, "I don't think this is working."
Yeah.
And we're like, "Yeah, but this is my goal. I'm going to hit this by the time I'm 30, and then I'm going to get that." And we really become slaves to the goal, robots.
Do you think that, it sounds like it's a softer approach you're coming? You talk about goals with soul. We could easily talk about goals with heart, but it sounds like a softer way, a more yin way, a more feminine way of dealing with, manifesting, attracting, creating what you want in life.
Yeah, and it is. Thank you. And do you know why I'm that makes me happy
Yeah.
is because the feminine is the creative root. The Shakti, it all comes from the Shakti. It doesn't matter what gender you are. So why don't we just be more in sync with the frequency, the taste, the vibration of creativity, and
Yeah.
create your lives from that place. I mean, if somebody desire maps and says, I'm done with goals.
Yeah.
Brilliant, great. I love it. Want to see it.
Is this why you say affirmations can mess you up? Do you think they're much more left brain, much more, come on, do 100 affirmations before breakfast type of thing?
Yeah, I think affirmations suck. I'm not into them at all.
Okay.
I think affirmations can be lies that we tell ourselves, and not only do we tell them we tell them to ourselves repeatedly.
Okay, yeah.
And I think what happens is, there's the affirmation, and I'm being a bit, cheeky, but there's the affirmations that are true, and the affirmations that are lies that we want to believe.
Mm.
So the best example is, it's the person who's you're broke, but you want to be rich.
Mm.
And New Age Affirmations 101 would tell you, I am so grateful that I'm wealthy. I am so grateful that I'm wealthy. And I think what is happening internally for us when we lie to ourselves like that
Mm.
is that you create this disconnect. There's something in your psyche is going, this is
Yeah.
not right.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you stand in the power of, I want to be wealthy intensely. I'm
Mm.
so looking forward to being wealthy. I ask all powers that be to assist me in being wealthy. Completely different energy. You're looking at your reality the way it is. Incredible power in that. You're staying with your hunger, incredible power, and you're declaring what you want. And I
Mm.
think when you declare what you want, a couple things happen. One is, I think your brain starts firing in a different way. It gets your synapses going, and you will think more clearly. Belief system. I think the cosmos hears you. I think every declared desire is a prayer that gets registered, on the universal grid, and you will get assistance to that. But yeah, lying to yourself in the form of affirmations, it's tricky.
It's tricky. Whereas something like prayer and attunement is the very opposite. This is what you're talking about, isn't it? Prayer and attunement.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Attunement to what's really happening, and we have to. I mean, I don't talk much about this in Desire Map, but this is a thing I'm often on about. I think we need to give fear more credit than we do.
Mm.
I'm really, it pains me to hear the motivational shtick around fearlessness, because that's another lie. We're not fearless. We fear is not only natural, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It doesn't matter how evolved the obvious levels of fear of physical danger and stuff like that, but even psychological fear is there. It's there to teach you something. It's got something to say. It comes bearing some information. So stop repressing it and acting like the superior thing is to not feel it at all. That's another lie.
Yeah. That's been because you talk about the undeniable immense values of negative emotions. Apart from fear, which you've mentioned, are there others that can really drive us towards something more meaningful?
Yeah, I think anything that one might label as negative, because we're all going to have different definitions of what a negative emotion is.
Yeah.
I think anything you'd label as negative is super useful. Super duper useful. That's my technical term. Super duper useful.
Okay.
Because it's showing you the contrast of, look, I'm angry. I don't consider anger necessarily a negative emotion, but sometimes it feels like hell. That's negative.
Yeah.
So I'm in the hell of anger. I want to feel Shakti. I want to feel unity. You see? So you're on course and you're off course. You're on course and you're off course. And that's the way it goes. And that is what I call, that's my idea of creative tension. Like the best kind of creative tension.
Yeah, some people would call that feedback, wouldn't they? That, off course, on course. It's how airplanes fly all the time, Otherwise they'd never reach there if they didn't know you're 1 degree off course, get back,
That's a great, I got to use that one. That's a great metaphor.
Yeah, for sure.
Feedback.
Yeah, feedback. Well, it's been amazing talking to you. I'm going to enjoy reading this book and getting into my feelings, Danielle. And for anybody listening, your website is Danielle LaPorte. That's DanielleLaporte .com. So, and I think you've got lots of stuff on offer there, as well as your books, your events and things. And you've got you're going to Australia, I think you said.
Conference is called The Heart of Business.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got stuff going on. So Danielle LaPorte, it's all there.
Well, it's been lovely speaking with you, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Likewise, have fun getting into your feelings.
Okay, Danielle, thank you so much.